If a student does not eat hot lunch in school, is that a sign of poverty? That is extremely dependent on the country, region. Not every school offers warm lunches to begin with. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. I grew up poor and got free hot lunches because of it. I knew some kids that were too borderline to qualify for free, reduced lunch, so they paper bagged it with a sandwich. I also knew kids who had both parents making bank at the mill and still brought in a packed lunch. But it had Lunchables, chewy granola bars, 20-ounce sodas, and grandma's cookies in it. At my school experience in the 90s and early 00s, whether you had hot lunch or brought something cold wasn't a sign of being poor or not. Kids are really mean to each other and will pick up on any difference and connect it to something negative and then tease endlessly about it. Or the kid just doesn't like school cafeteria food. Not true. Personally, I always admired the students that had parents that could pack tasty meals and treats. School cafeteria was pretty bad, and bringing food from home often meant better food. I wish my kids would eat school lunch because it would cost me less. Lol. In my county we have free, reduced lunch for low, no-income families. After I lost my job earlier this year we would probably qualify, but my kids really don't want hot lunch. And I really want them to eat something during the day. So they bring lunch from home. The hot lunch at their schools honestly has some frickin' fiery options. And even simple stuff like sandwiches, cold lunches. And they've never mentioned anything about people and their social, financial status along with lunches. So I kind of only know what it looks like from the adult, faculty perspective and not the kid perspective. In my area, getting a hot school lunch is more likely to be a sign of poverty. My kid's school is Title I and there is always the free and reduced meal program. All the kids get free breakfast and some years all the mids are entitled to a free lunch too. I'm of that age range. 41 today. And back when I was a kid we used lunch tickets. They were color-coded for free, reduced, and full-price lunch. I have kids in school now and they give free lunch to everyone since COVID and they use a pin pad type thing when the kid gets their lunch. Anyway, back in my day, the color-coded tickets you presented in the lunch line with all of your classmates would pretty much show people if you were free or reduced lunch, basically giving classmates an opportunity to make fun of low-income families. The poor kids would brown bag it just so their peers wouldn't see if they had free lunch, meaning they were poor. So it was a lose-lose. If you were bringing lunch from home you were poor. If you presented a lunch ticket that showed you qualified for free, you were poor. Kids would act like, I just don't like school lunch, to avoid bullying. It should be different now that they use the pin pad. And most schools have offered free lunch to all students. I rarely got hot lunch because the food sucked, not because I was poor. I brought cold lunch from home almost all the way through the end of high school. I would say my family was more wealthy than about 3/4 of the other students in our town. The lunches I brought were in general tastier, more nutritious, and more expensive than the school lunch generally was. Buffalo chicken lunch meat sandwich with lettuce, onions, cheese, mayo and tomato. Chobani Greek yogurt. Can of seltzer or club soda that I could mix with juice from the cafeteria to make soda, and some fruit like a clementine or something. Sometimes a small cup of soup to go with the sandwich, man shrugging, medium light skin tone. In days where I did get school lunch, we had an alternate option which was like the school cafeteria version of Subway. Deli sandwiches and salads made to order with boar's head cold cuts, plus baked Lay's chips, plus juice and milk boxes. In my town it wasn't particularly a sign of being poor. If I remember correctly, actually the less wealthy students often got a reduced or free price school lunch. So I would say where I grew up, bringing your own lunch just meant you didn't want what the school was serving. We were poor, so we got free lunch on the system. I got picked on for bagged lunch until I left elementary school. I'm 32. Hot lunch was for parents who couldn't be bothered to pack a lunch for their children. For me in high school it was more of a, if the kid is getting hot lunches every day, the family is either well off or the parents are lazy AF. Most kids brought lunch from home. But I also grew up in a country town about 30 minutes south of Ottawa, where it was all 1 acre bungalows or more. So no one in the town really was poor. Just some families were more well off than others. Now the population has tripled and it's just as expensive to live there as in the city. Lol. Kids will often find any reason to tease other kids. My son takes lunch to school because he doesn't like cafeteria food. I have not heard anything about him being teased. But I know I didn't share that stuff with my parents when I was in HS. It's been decades since I ate a school lunch, but eating school food or bringing your lunch was never an indicator of anything. Some kids ate school lunch every day because they could or had to. Some kids ate school lunch only when they liked things on the menu, and other days brought lunch from home. Some kids only brought food from home. I'm not sure anyone in my school actually paid attention. I had the same experience you did growing up in the US public school system. Kids from lower-earning families will usually qualify for free, reduced meals from the school. However, I say usually because the income restrictions and what qualifies a family can be really messed up. Sometimes, a family might make more than what the federal government considers to be at or near the poverty line, but ultimately can't keep up with costs of living, resulting in students who don't qualify for these programs. But families who also aren't able to pay the $2.65 per day, or roughly $54 per month per child, for a school meal, leaving them to bring packed lunches from home. So yeah, it really depends and can definitely go either direction. Could she have gone to private schools? My partner used to be a teacher and she said this was the dynamic at the private schools. The hot lunch in the cafeteria was expensive, so the scholarship and government assistance kids brought packed lunches. It really depends on where you live. In the Netherlands, it's standard to just eat bread and cheese for lunch.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. TooAfraidToAsk is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.